What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to My Social Life. This is the podcast where you can hear the real stories behind the people on social media. I'm your host, Jacob Kelly. As always, today's podcast is powered by Trufan. Before we get into today's conversation with Seandoesmagic, there's a couple things that we need to go over first. Number one, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please consider leaving a rating and a review. The more positive ratings and reviews you get, the more it helps new people find this show. And it really helps to grow the community that we're developing here. And for those people that have recently found the podcast, welcome. I'm very excited to have you here. Make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for future episodes. I put out brand new interviews every single Monday and takeaways episodes every single Thursday, where I sit down and I break down some of the key points from the week's podcast. And last but not least, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please share it to your Instagram story. Tag myself at the Jacob Kelly, tag Sean at Seandoesmagic, and I'll feature you on my account and send you a message as well. And now, without further ado, let's get to my conversation with Seandoesmagic. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to My Social Life. This is the podcast where you can hear the real stories behind the people on social media. I'm your host, Jacob Kelly. As always, today's podcast is powered by Trufan. Today, we are joined by Seandoesmagic. And Sean is one of the most popular magicians on the internet, period. He's one of the top 100 TikTokers on the planet. And he's also amassed huge followings on Instagram and YouTube as well. Sean is also the co-founder of The Pound, a brand new content crib that has ambitious goals to be one of the biggest influencer houses on the planet. This isn't Sean's first stop on My Social Life. This is his second appearance. He was back previously on episode 66, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm very excited to welcome him back to the podcast today. Sean, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. And where I want to start, I want to just take a second to compare where you were last time you were on the podcast versus where you are today. So correct any of these numbers if I have them wrong. But when you were last here, I believe it was early December is when we would have recorded, early December 2019. You had 1.9 million on TikTok. You literally gotten 200,000 new followers the day we recorded. So you had 1.7 the night before, 1.9 the day we recorded, about 95K on Instagram, and 7,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yes, correct. I was just starting my rise.
Yeah. Versus today, it's insane. You're sitting at 15 million on TikTok. Like I said, one of the top 100 creators in the world, 363,000 on Instagram and 236,000 on YouTube. I just want to congratulate you. That is a tremendous growth on all fronts over the last, not even a year, like 8 months, man. That is impressive.
Thank you, man. I've been really working these last 8 months.
Yeah, I can imagine. I actually want to kind of dive into that, how the work has changed and everything over the last few months from about 2 million to 15 million. So in terms of your content, would you say it's more of the same? Are you trying to mix in new types of content? Like, talk to me about how your content's changed in the last 8 months.
It's really funny you mentioned that. I've actually, when I first had my interview with you, I was, it was really just a numbers game for me. And, it's something that a lot of influencers get trapped in. It's like, you're trying to grow and you're trying to explode, and you might end up creating content that you not necessarily enjoy. And so I would say right after that podcast interview, I was 3 months straight of doing content that I didn't necessarily like. But it over, the last 5 months, it shifted, and I've, managed to put more of myself into the videos, and it's really shifted. And I feel like it's reflected onto, my current growth. I feel like I'm more authentic. I'm posting things I genuinely enjoy. And and I think it's definitely helped my growth tremendously.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And talk to me about keeping the content fresh. Like, how many more magic tricks do you have up your sleeve? Like, have you ever hit a point where you're like, I don't know what to make today? Has that ever happened?
It happens a lot. It happens a lot where it's like, okay, because I'm posting, I try to post at least once a day, at times it's like maybe 2 or 3. And, when you're doing daily content, you will reach a point where it's like, dang, what do I got next? What do I got going on? And that's why I actually, my content's kind of diversified a little bit, where it's not just strictly magic. It's comedy videos. It's just things that I genuinely enjoy. It's just me doing dumb things sometimes. And but with all of that, I still have days where I have no idea when in the world I'm like, what should I post today? But that's part of the journey. That's part of the struggle, and part of the dream of being a social media person.
How has your audience responded to you starting to change up content? Because obviously when you first started, you were pretty heavy magic, but now, like you said, you're mixing in different types of content. Like, how is your audience responding to that?
It's responding like better than ever, honestly. Like the fact that I feel like I'm posting more authentic content is just like authentic in the way where I genuinely enjoy what I'm posting now. Like I would watch the videos that I'm posting, unlike, 8 months ago where I was watching those videos. I was like, dang, this is so stupid. I don't know why I got views. But now it's like, real authentic Sean, and I feel like people more connecting to it, and more connecting to like my real personality. And I don't have to, fake a smile or whatever that I was doing before. So yeah, I think that the shift in that, and the shift in creating not just magic content, but just me content, definitely like connects with an audience more.
Do you think if in the beginning, do you think you should have been more authentic, or do you think in the beginning you have to almost do that content that gets you views just to try and get some attention, and then from there you can pivot into the authentic content? Because I feel like that's something a lot of new creators struggle with, is trying to create content that gets views, but at the same time wanting to create content for themselves. Like, how do you balance that, and reflecting on it, do you wish you just been authentic from the get?
Honestly, for me, I have no regrets on how I went about my ways, because you live and you learn. But for anybody coming up, I would definitely recommend that you stay authentic and true to yourself, and you build that audience from day one. I'm playing catch up right now. I have 15 million followers, but there's people with 15 million followers who have way, connected fan bases, way more diehard fans, and that's because they started from day one, building up that really like authentic, real content. And so if you are just starting out, stay true to yourself, stay true to what you believe in, and stay true to the content that you genuinely enjoy creating, because that's what's going to build a diehard fan base.
And so, what ultimately would you attribute a majority of your growth coming to just being more authentic, or was there a point where you're putting out more content and that led to more growth? Like, what are some things? Like, is there anything you can directly attribute your growth to?
Oh man. So I was steadily growing after that podcast interview. I hit 2 million in December, and then I kept growing. Just before New Year's, I was at 2.9, and that was just steadily growing. And then I went to Playlist Live in February, and I was watching all these creators, and they were all innovating. They were all trying things. They were like, okay, what if I do this? What if I do that? And they were taking trends and thinking outside of the box. And I was like, man, I can do that. I know I'm like creative enough to do something like that. And I reflected onto my content. I was like, the content I'm making right now isn't creative. I'm just kind of chasing views. So I kind of reflected on that, and I started to get creative within the magic niche. And I created this series called Teach Me a Magic Trick, where my friend Josh or Aiden or one of my good friends Gavin would come up to me with a random item and be like, yo, teach me a magic trick with this. And that's what kind of started my growth right after Playlist, like probably 3 days after Playlist Live. I posted a video, and it ended up getting about 70 million views, and that video alone converted 3 million followers, which I've never seen numbers like that in my life. And when I saw that, it just like, it really inspired me to continue to innovate within my realm of content. And it's kind of like a second wave of like motivation, and wanting to keep moving forward.
You mentioned earlier, right at the beginning of that, how you grew shortly after this podcast. And I can remember that because I scheduled the podcast, but we were about a month out from when we recorded to when it came out. And I remember having to constantly go back and just update the following count of you, like in the title. It was like with like 1.9 million subscribers, and you passed me, it was like 2 million subscribers, and it was like 2.5 million. It was like, and like over the course of a month, it was just crazy. The growth has just been, and it hasn't really stopped, which is insane. And one thing too, you mentioned with those videos where you're teaching people magic tricks. I was going to ask too, like how close attention do you pay to your analytics on TikTok? And have you found with your content, you have a long like average view or a long watch time on your videos, because people want to watch through the entire thing to either see the end of the trick, or you're just cramming so many, like showing people how to do so many tricks in one video that they can get them so quickly? Like, have you noticed you have a really solid watch time on your videos?
It's funny you mentioned that. My TikTok manager, the first time I ever met her, she said that I genuinely have one of the like highest watch time averages, because most people who go viral on a consistent basis, their watch time is like 15 seconds. But I genuinely have a long watch time. And I remember when she first told me that, I was like, okay, that's really good knowledge, because it means I can, captivate someone long enough for, maybe a whole minute. And if you look at my content today, a lot of it is longer form content. And it's been doing well. But in terms of analytics, I keep up with my analytics, but not as much as like I would say most people, to be honest. I just look at videos and I say, okay, that did well, that didn't do well, and I just break it down. Like, why didn't this do well? Why did this do well? Half second too long, half second too short. On this part, I talk for too much, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't when I analyze content, I don't really look that much into numbers. I look more into like the content in itself and like why someone wouldn't want that video, why that video wouldn't go viral.
And how often do you take those times to reflect on your content? Do you like almost do like a breakdown after you post every single one, like 24 hours later? Or like, is it like a weekly thing? Like, what does that look like?
Um, just the next day, I give it like a day. I kind of judge most videos after a day, and then if it doesn't do well, I generally just sit there and just watch the video. I pretend like I'm scrolling through the For You page, and I'm like, okay, what time would I scroll? Why would nobody want to share this video? Why would et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I base it more off just like, I don't know, my own personal feeling about, how a video would go in my mind if I was watching it, rather than just like the numbers.
And I'm curious too if leaving comments on other people's TikToks has helped you grow at all. Cause like there's been times like I just love personally reading comments on TikTok. Sometimes there's the funniest thing out there. But like there's been times where I'll click on a video and I'll see like you'll be the top comment and you'll have like tens of thousands of likes on your comment. Does that ever help you gain new followers just by commenting on other people's stuff?
I have no idea if that has helped me at all, to be honest. It's kind of just like the Gary V like 2 cents or $1.80 strategy, excuse me, where you kind of just comment on everything, and then it can help build a community a little bit. But I've always like been active in commenting on posts, because I feel like the more I get my name out there, even if you don't click on my you see the name Seandoesmagic, at least it's like staying in some people's heads. And I also love connecting to other creators as well. Like if I see a video that I genuinely enjoy, I know what it feels like to create a video and like have it do well, and getting the praise, and I love that feeling. So like I would love to spread that to other creators as well. Like, hey, you killed that, you did a great job, or this really made me laugh.
Are there any struggles with being the size of follower you are now with 15 million followers? Is there any struggles that you're dealing with that you didn't have to deal with when you had like 1 million or 2 million followers?
Oh man. Honestly, not really. There's not that many struggles that I have, and I say that because like I genuinely live a really blessed life, and I'm so grateful to be where I am today. I would not change this for the world, but the only thing that ever comes up is like I feel like a lot of people forget that I'm an 18-year-old kid. I just graduated high school, and like I mean I'm still a kid. I'm nowhere near like an adult, but when I'm working with, these influencers, these brands, like sometimes I feel like people forget. And I sometimes do feel the pressure, because it's like, yeah, I do have this large following, but I'm I'm not, 25. I'm not like an adult yet. At least I don't feel like it.
Yeah. One thing I was going to ask with as your community scales, is it harder to stay engaged and connect with your audience as you get bigger? Because as your audience gets bigger, the percentage of audience you're able to interact with will naturally just decrease over time. Like, has that something you've had troubles with, is just trying to engage with your community as it's just gotten so large now?
Um, Genuinely, it's you can only reply to so many comments. Like if we're being real, like you can only reply to so many comments. You can only reply to so many DMs. I try my best. And anybody who's like a fan of mine knows this. Like I genuinely try my best to respond to as many people as possible. But my biggest thing is live. I go live streaming every single day, and I try to connect with people every single day. That's kind of my main way of trying to connect with my audience, because anybody can ask a question live, and it's kind of like the best way to interact. I can answer your question live. I can respond. I can talk about anything that they want me to talk about. But in terms of like DMs and comments, I try my best. I mean, but there's only so much.
No, for sure. And what are those lives like? Is it pretty much just like a chance for people to ask you questions, or are they programmed at all where you're trying to do something specific, or is it more just a chance to answer questions and stuff like that?
A lot of my live streams are like Q&A based. We play games. I kind of just hang out. I kind of show them what I'm working on, what I'm up to for the day. Sometimes my friends join my live as well, just like hang out and talk to everybody. But it's just genuinely just a chance for me to just talk to everybody. Sometimes I might have a story for the day, like, oh, today I'm gonna do this and this, and or today we filmed this video and blank. And so I just take an hour out of my day every single day to at least connect with the fans who join my live.
And have you had to deal with any hate or anything like that? Like, how is that something you've overcome? Because naturally, with just that many people following you, I'm sure there's been some hate to some degree. Like, how do you deal with that?
Oh man. Well, as you know, I've been doing social media before TikTok. I was doing Instagram, and I got to be real with you. Instagram comments are like 12 times worse than than TikTok comments, to be honest. Like, I remember when I was, doing like my mind reading videos on Instagram, I would get so many comments, so many DMs from people. And so I'm kind of been accustomed to hate comments, to be honest. I've gotten thicker skin throughout the years, excuse me. And it's nothing new. I'm honestly seeing just about the same amount of like hate comments as I was, you know, 2 years ago when I was just doing Instagram. So nothing really has changed in that department. If anything, I'm getting just like I'm being shown more love, to be honest. And that's that overcome that. I mean, although you will remember a hate comment, all the love, you really feel that.
And you've been, as far as I can tell, you've been beef free on TikTok, right? Like, there's been quite a bit of beef these last few months, but you've remained beef free, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty unproblematic. I mean, honestly, I see I see the beef. I see a lot of things have been happening, and you know, I I I'm not one to really start beef with people. I kind of I don't know if there are creators out there that I look at and be like, okay, I don't really love your content, but I mean, people can say the same thing about me. You can judge me based off a video all you want, but you don't know me true to my heart. And so like I can judge someone all I want, like, oh, you did that video which, offended all these people, or, et cetera, whatever it might be. But I'm going to have my own opinion to it and keep it to myself instead of, kind of bringing it out to the internet. Plus, the internet's not a great place to have a dispute, to be honest.
Fair enough. And I was going to ask too, once coronavirus kind of hit North America, do you think that helped you grow? Like, obviously, you're already growing ridiculously fast at that point, but do you think having people stuck at home now, a lot of new people joining the app, do you think that helped you grow, helped increase the rate that you were going?
I definitely think it had some sort of impact on, my growth. I definitely know that a lot of people, a lot of friends in the area, was like, okay, I'm gonna download TikTok. I have nothing to do. So it definitely probably, helped grow TikTok, which eventually helped, grow all of our pages on TikTok. But I don't attribute that directly to my success or anything with views or anything. I genuinely think it was just like the rebranding of my content that really helped my growth over, the circumstances. But the circumstances did help me focus up on my content.
And with focusing up on your content, does that mean that you stopped paying attention in school? Because I was going to ask how school went with COVID, but I think it was in a YouTube video you said that you dropped or failed 6 classes in a row and didn't end up graduating on time. Is that true?
Um, so yeah, that is actually 100% true. I failed 6 straight classes. It was funny. Right after Playlist Live, I was around all of these people, right? I was, it's so crazy when you go to events like this because you see people that you normally only see on a screen. And I'm also an influencer too, so it's like you can't act like a fan. You just got to be like, oh, hi James Charles, hi Charlie D'Amelio. um you know and so like I was hanging around these people. I was casually, I mean, I did a YouTube video with Addison Rae and Dixie, and I was able to do some TikToks with Lil Huddy. And I was like, doing these things with other people, and I was really focusing on my career. And then I fly back, and I remember literally sitting in my psych class, my psychology class, and my teacher was like on my head. She was like, "Why didn't you turn this in?" And I just remember like she was like kind of like telling me, "You have until this day to turn it in." And as soon as she was done, I walked out of the class. I never returned back to my class. I never once did, and I ended up failing 6 straight classes. I was able to recover over the summer, so I actually just finished about a couple weeks ago, and now I'm officially graduated. It took some time, but I was able to manage my time a little bit better. get that done. But yeah, I remember that exact moment. I was like, I was so done with school. I remember feeling like, what am I doing here? Why do I need to learn this Psych 100 class? Like, it's not worth my time. I could be so filming a video right now. Like, all these other creators doing their own thing. Like, I need to be out in that space. And so I remember that moment precisely.
Do you remember the video you posted the day before we recorded last time?
Yes, it was a basketball video.
Mm-hmm. So you know where I'm going with this then is in that video, that was the video where you said that you'll meet David Dobrik and you threw the ball behind your head and you got it in. And ultimately that ended up happening just a couple months later. Can you talk to me about that LA trip and how impactful that was for you?
Oh man, what a trip. That wow. Just looking back on it, honestly, I booked a trip to LA because I felt like I needed to get out of my state. It wasn't for any reason necessarily. On my YouTube video, I talked about how um I went down to LA to meet with my management collab, which is true, but genuinely I could have met with my management at any point in the year. So I just booked that trip because I was kind of feeling like, I mean, there's not that many creators in the area, and a lot of people in my small like city kind of think alike, where it's like, oh, go to college and all that. And so I was like, I just need to go to LA. I just need to just like talk to influencers and talk to people who have a similar mindset. And so I booked a trip to LA with the excuse of meeting my management. And with that, I had nothing planned. I literally, I contacted Cam Casey, who's also a TikToker, and Joey Rogoff, and I was like, hey, can I crash on your couch? I literally posted on my story. I was like, hey, does anybody have a place where I can crash? And they reached out. They're like, hey, sleep on our couch. I was like, all right, bet. Literally nothing planned at all. And that weekend, we ended up going to this like restaurant and bar that's really known for like celebrities and like influencers to be at. And it was crazy. I walked in, and the first person I see is like Emma Chamberlain. I was like, what the heck am I doing here? And this was before playlists, so like I wasn't accustomed to that, to seeing like people. But I see Emma Chamberlain, which I'm a huge fan of Emma Chamberlain. I see Madison Beer just casually eating dinner, and then there you go, David Dobrik walks in, and I am completely shocked. I don't think I've ever been more nervous in my life, because he's definitely a huge inspiration of mine, and he's inspired so many influencers. And I actually went up to him and I showed him that video of the basketball, of me tossing the basketball behind my head. And I remember he was watching that and he thought it was so funny. He was like, that just the irony of it. And it was just such a nerve-wracking experience. And it's funny because my friends were taking photos of me talking to him, and I just looked so nervous.
And so like you mentioned earlier how like at playlists, like you're a peer, you're not a fan. How do you balance that when you meet someone like David Dobrik, who you were watching prior to being an influencer yourself, but now that you are one, you guys are on like the same playing fields. Like how do you balance that in that specific environment, being his fan, but also being a peer at the same time?
Oh man, I don't know how to balance it. I got to be real with you. Like I will always freak out over, like, it's funny because when I went to, like playlist, I would be freaking out over people. I'll be like, oh my God, I love that dude. And then my friend Josh would be like, yo, Sean, you have like 3 times as many followers as him. Why are you like freaking out? I'm like, I don't feel like I have, my following. I genuinely don't. Like, people are like, oh, congrats on 15 mil. In the back of my head, I'm like, I don't feel like I got 15 million followers. Like I know 2 years ago, if I was like, if I told my past self, like, you're gonna hit 15 million followers, I'd be like, oh my God, that's crazy, that's insane. But in my head, like, I just feel like a kid who makes videos, which is why I end up being like fans of everybody, which is good. I mean, I feel like it kind of humbles me a little bit. I don't walk around like, you know, cocky or whatever it might be. I feel like fame isn't really getting to my head because I don't even feel the fame at all. But yeah, it's definitely a mix. And I remember being at playlists and like seeing all these people, and me introducing myself to all these people and be like, hey. But in the back of my head, I'm like shaking. I'm like, oh my God, I'm right in front of James. I'm talking to James Charles about clothes right now. What am I doing? And so like, yeah, it's a mix of both. You gotta be humbled, but also like realize that you're an influencer in yourself.
And what else did you get up to when you were in LA? Correct me if I'm wrong, like you ended up going to the Sway house, right? You said there was not really a plan. Is there anything else you got up to there? Like you went to Sway, right?
Yes, I ended up going to Sway, and that was before Sway was like genuinely like a completely huge ordeal. They released a diss track, which really put them on the map, to be honest. But they were known. Everybody knows who like Sway was, but they weren't in like the same. Like right now, everybody's talking about like Bryce Hall and talking about like Josh Richards, Jade, and all of them, Noah Beck and all of them. But they weren't like as heavily pressed as they are now. You will see them on TMZ articles, and Hollywood Fix really comes up to all of them. But when I first went to Sway, yeah, it was not planned at all. I ran into a couple of buddies that I met at VidCon the year before, and they said, "Hey, we're staying at Sway right now," because they were all under the same management as the Sway people. You should come over and let's collab. And that's when we were at the bar. I was like, "Oh, bet, let's go to Sway." So I went over to Sway. I was able to meet all of the boys, and they were so kind. Like they all introduced themselves to me, which like you don't have to when you're at the level of like Sway, right? You don't need to you don't need to introduce yourself, but they did, and they chatted up with us, and we were talking, and it was a good time. But none of that was planned. It was just kind of spontaneous. And on that note, I also did a collab with Danny Duncan at the same time as well, and that also wasn't planned at all. I met the one of Danny Duncan's manager friends, or manager slash friend, and he basically told me that after I did a magic trick to him, that he wanted me to come over and do a shoot. And in LA, everything's kind of up and down. Nothing's really certain in LA. People make empty promises all the time. But I get a text from him, and I did a shoot with Danny Duncan. So basically, the only plan for that weekend was to meet my management. I met David Dobrik, went to a place with a bunch of celebrities, Sway and Danny. And I remember coming back from that trip asking myself, what in the world just happened? Like that wasn't that what was my luck that weekend? It was crazy.
I'm curious now, was there anything like that you picked up when you were at Sway House from like a business perspective that you kind of apply to what you're doing now?
Um, Business perspective, to be honest, nothing much. One of the biggest things that I realized when I was, at Sway is like I was looking at their their calendar board that they had up, and I was like seeing all these things, and I was like, dang, like it'd be really cool to live in a creator house. It'd be really cool to be in a situation where you live in Sway LA, or live in the Hype House, because I was seeing all the stuff that they were doing, and I was like, dang, that's so cool. And I realized when I was there and seeing all the boys, it was I was there at like 2, but everybody was just waking up, which was really funny. But I was seeing everybody, and like they were getting ready for their day, and I was like, dang, like you know I could see a creator house in the future. I could see something like that. That's the only really like input that I got from being at Sway. But in terms of really business, nothing much.
No. And what does like your business operation look like? And by that I mean like what does behind the scenes look like for Seandoesmagic? I know you mentioned Collab, which is your management that you signed with, but what is like who's behind the scenes working with you right now?
So right now it's me and genuinely just my dad on top of Collab. Me and my dad, have been he's been helping me for like, years now on social media and all of this stuff, and he's been helping me with all of the business side of it. But in terms of like when I get brand deals or whatever, or like in terms of like any opportunities, branded opportunities, or press, that's all my management. My management does that. I just want to give a huge shout out to Vanessa, because Vanessa is literally the greatest. She does so much for me, and keeps me on track. So that's really she Collab and their team, with the main Vanessa, on top of my dad helping me with just like setting up an LLC, and running the business stuff and taxes and all that. And then aside from that, I also have my friends who help me film. They all do social media, and one of my closest friends, Aiden Rowley, he does all my photos. He also does a lot of my VFX editing if I ever need it for video. So that's kind of my team right now. It's not anything lucrative or anything big, but it gets the job done.
Mhm. And Aiden's at Rowley Visuals on Instagram, right?
Yes, Rally Visuals, he's killing it.
Awesome. And then you said in your day of the life of a TikToker video that you have a lot of meetings during your day. Like what are those meetings for? What do they look like? Is it for like brand deals? Is it for content strategy? Like what are your meetings about? If you can like, of course, divulge that.
Yeah. No, of course. A lot of my meetings genuinely is just like me talking to brands, me talking to like talking about like potential branded opportunities, whether it's paid or not, or and a lot of my meetings are also creative meetings as well. Collab has like weekly creative meetings where we dive into my YouTube content and my TikTok content, and this is why I say they're the best management in the world, because they're really invested into the creators, and I genuinely believe that Collab is one of the only managements that truly just want the best for the creator, which is why I absolutely adore them. But yeah, a lot of my meetings are either brands or interviews. That's also one, and then of course I'm creative, just to break down my content and maximize my content.
Mhm. And I want to dive into brand deals a little bit, but I want to start with the story of your first brand deal. That was you lowballed that deal quite a bit, right?
Wait, how do you know that? That's actually crazy. That
I honestly don't
yeah.
even remember where I found that out. Some point in the last week, I either listened or watched something where you would have said that.
Oh my god, that's insane. Cause like I genuinely don't know where I said that. But wow, all power to you. Yeah, no, when I first started doing brand deals, I was taking like free things. I was taking like really, really free things, and I was just, all I remember just getting products in the mail and me posting products, and me receiving like maybe like $50 for like a post or something. Um and that was like during the Instagram days. Like I remember I got like a canvas of me, which was really cool, and I did a little mind reading video with the canvas, and it actually did, the video actually did pretty well. I got like 150,000 views for Instagram, so like that was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I'm glad the brand was happy. But I remember just because when you first start out, and a lot of my friends today are taking brand deals similar to that, and I tell them like, yo, I it's not what you're worth, but it's kind of like a learning period. You get excited, you get really excited when a company wants to send you free earrings, or like when they're like, oh, here's a free phone case, you're like, oh yes, yes, I don't have to do anything, I just have to post a story. So a lot of my early brand deals were so low ball. Like people would send me like $10, $20, post this on your story. I was like, all right, let's do it. And I wasn't making really any money on social media, but uh, in terms of TikTok, I remember specifically accepting my first ever brand deal. I was at like 30K, and someone was like, $30 to use this song. I was like, say less. I got you, bro. Because I wasn't taking TikTok as seriously as I did, now. And I remember making that video. And, it's really crazy because that dude got so lucky. $30. And then like 2 weeks later, my page started to blow up, and that just because people were checking out my page, that video ended up getting like 100,000 views, which is not worth $30. So all power to him. But yeah.
That's awesome. And so today, does Collab source most of your partnerships, or do people come direct to you still?
So I actually have an email that's linked to Collab. So any email that I get is now sourced through Collab. So every single opportunity gets sent straight to Collab, and they do everything for me. It's actually such a like heavy like weight off my shoulders, because I before Collab I was responding to all these emails and nobody would take me seriously, because I was like a 17-year-old kid, and I was like just typing out these emails like, oh no, I want blank amount for this video, I want blank amount or whatever. And then they're like, no, we want to give you 10% of that amount. And I'm like, oh, well, there's not much I can say. But with Collab, being a notable, management, they're able to negotiate on my behalf, which is amazing.
And then as a creator, how do you determine who you want to work with? Like, obviously you don't want to take on every single deal. Like, how do you determine what brands to collab with?
Honestly, a lot of the brands that I haven't had to have like kind of like that decision making process, to be honest, because a lot of the brands that have reached out are brands that I genuinely enjoy. I haven't had any problems. I haven't had a moment where I was like, okay, no, like although they're offering this amount, I don't really want to do it because the what it stands for or whatever. I've genuinely never had to like sift through that.
And how do you go about incorporating brand deals into your content? Like I've watched an interview that David Dobrik did himself, and it was talking about how he tries to make, whenever he does the brand, a character in his videos. He doesn't just try to do like, in today's video is powered by like this. He tries to genuinely incorporate it. It's like with SeatGeek. When you know that SeatGeek's a part of this video, you know something epic's going to happen. Like, how do you go about trying to incorporate these sponsorships into your content?
Oh, that's my favorite part. I love trying to find a way to put a product into a magic video. The difference between what David does and what I do is mine is all TikTok, so it's all 1 minute based, and there's only so much you can do with a 1 minute video versus his 4 minute vlog. But in terms of just like TikTok, whenever I have a brand deal, I recently did a brand deal with like Hers chips. And that was so much fun. I was like, oh, what can I do to make magic with chips? And I ended up doing like a video where I showed an empty bag of chips at my fingers, and it was completely full, and it was like the narrative of like, oh dude, I just ran out of my Hers chips, like how do I get more? And I'm a magician. So like that's one of my favorite parts of being an influencer, is like that challenge. I mean, currently I have a brand deal with Samsung where I'm working with a TV. And with that TV, we got to find a way to incorporate it into the TikToks. I can't really dive that much into what our plan is, but it's so much fun.
Yeah, no worries about diving too deep into it. Are there any brands, like dream brands, you want to work with? I mean, you said right now a lot of the brands you're working with are ones that you've genuinely used already, but are there ones you're like, man, I would love to like film a Nike commercial or something like that?
Nike would be cool, but I think the only brand that sticks to my mind, I mean, I consume this more than anything else, Chipotle. I would absolutely adore Chipotle sponsorship. I genuinely, like, I wish I was lying to you, but I would say pretty much 6 out of the 7 days this week, I had Chipotle. So at least one meal a day, if not two. So like if I had a Chipotle sponsorship, that that would be a match. That would be a match, and I would endorse the heck out of that.
Are you a part of the TikTok Creator Fund? Like, and if so, how does that work?
So yes, right now I am a part of the TikTok Creator Fund, and I was told about the TikTok Creator Fund before they publicly released it. And they basically how it works, breaking it down, is like they're basically rewarding creators for having good content and getting good views, and having good videos. And it's such a bonus. It's so good on TikToks, and like I'm so thankful that they're really considering the creators, because honestly, being straight up, it's not like a crazy amount. It's not like you get a million views, you get a million views on YouTube will get you like $1,000, $2,000. But like a million views on TikTok, not as much, but like it's still an added bonus. Whether it's like an extra like $50 a day, like that's something. It adds up, and I'm seeing it over time, especially if you have a viral video. So it's just basically the more views and interaction you get in a day, TikTok chooses to pay you. I don't know what the CPM is really. I heard it's like maybe like 2 cents every 1,000 views or something really really low. But it's a great added bonus.
It's better than nothing, right? Like it's good that they're making those strides to reward their creators. But last time we talked, one thing I was curious about was the contrast between TikTok and Vine at the time, and how a lot of people, especially late 2019, were kind of comparing TikTok to Vine. And I was asking you kind of how Vine went away. Like, are you kind of prepared if that whatever happened to TikTok? It's like a crazy hypothetical situation, but then that situation almost became a reality. So I'm curious, on August 1st, can you bring me back to that day and like what your reaction was when you heard that TikTok was reportedly going to get banned the next morning? Like, and did you like jump on your call with management? Like, what did that night look like for you?
Okay, so I have a weird reaction to this, because I've been asked this question before. And a lot of people were really scared. A lot of people genuinely were going on live a lot. I remember everybody was on live, like, go follow my Instagram, go subscribe to my YouTube, all of that deal. But genuinely, when I heard about the news, I was prepared to kind of leave it all, because I bet on myself. I didn't bet on, TikTok. I didn't bet on, if everything fell apart and TikTok is gone right now, I honestly don't have a worry in my mind at all. I'm I really know that I can work hard, and no matter what platform I'm on, I'll find a way to make it happen. So when that news came out, I remember looking at it being a little, like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I don't even know if that's a possibility, but when everybody started freaking out, I was like, okay, I really got to start working on YouTube. Like, I got to focus up on YouTube. Let's come up with some ideas. Let's write creative concepts, because I don't know what the future holds. And it's kind of just like a wake up call. It was like a wake up call, a little bit like, okay, TikTok is there, but what if it's not, kind of thing, ordeal. But I genuinely wasn't like, panicking. I wasn't, constantly calling my management or anything like that.
And so you said how like it was a wake up call and YouTube was kind of the first platform you thought about like diversifying to. Have you studied at all how like Viners made that transition from Vine over to YouTube as something like you can draw inspiration from?
I haven't necessarily directly studied, but I've seen it, with Logan Paul. I've seen it with David Dobrik and, the Vlog Squad. A lot of the members did Vine. But genuinely, it was just me trying to figure out what content I wanted to post, because I wasn't sure. I was, every single day I was stuck thinking about the, 60-second content. And so it was more of just me trying to figure out, what am I going to do to differentiate myself and find my path on YouTube.
And so talk to me about that a little bit then. Like, what are some things that you found that you've done to diversify? I went through your YouTube and everything. And to me, it looks like kind of like the tutorials or those how-to videos or what's popping for you right now. But like, what have you found so far?
So I'm going to be 100% real with you. The tutorial videos I've been posting are more just like, if I'm being like completely honest, like they're just videos for me to stay consistent, kind of just like to me to keep up. If I truly wanted to, it was like the rebuilding process for my TikTok. It's similar to that. Like, I'm at a point right now where I love where my TikTok is at. I genuinely don't love where my YouTube is at right now. Like, I'm still trying to figure out my lane. I really want to show more of my personality on the YouTube videos. So a lot of the stuff that I'm working on right now is to try to rebrand my YouTube. I'm doing more stuff than just magic, but I genuinely have been posting just the tutorial videos to kind of just fill in content, just so I'm not staying inconsistent. But although they have been doing pretty decent, I'm trying to find a new lane for me on YouTube.
That's interesting. I'm excited to see what that new lane looks like, and I'm curious too. Everyone that ever starts on YouTube has aspirations of getting a YouTube plaque. And I remember you tweeted that your goal for YouTube was 100K by the end of 2020. And like I said at the beginning of this, you're over 230,000 now. So I'm curious how it felt to finally get a YouTube plaque in the mail.
Oh, that's been that's been a childhood dream. That was something that I remember being, going home from school and watching these YouTubers unbox their plaques, and I remember thinking to myself, "That's so cool! Like, you get a plaque for getting subscribers. That's so awesome!" And when I got it in the mail, I was freaking out. I was like, "Oh my god, this is everything I ever worked for. This is everything." Because my first platform was YouTube. Like, when I was like, really young, that was my very very first platform. And so, like, it kind of all came first full circle. I was like, dang, like, I remember posting my first ever YouTube video back in 2012. And now I'm here. It's, 2020. I'm doing TikTok. I'm, making money on social media. And like, now I have this plaque kind of reflect it. And shout out YouTube. I'm so happy that they have something like that. Like, I wish TikTok had a, 10 million award or something like that. That would be so cool. But yeah, it was a surreal moment.
We actually talked about that last podcast. I'm pretty sure it was, you said Spencer X mentioned that as like an idea for them to do. They should reward their creators when they pass certain milestones.
That would be so cool. Like, I wish that would be amazing. But obviously, there's a lot of people on TikTok who have, like, surpassed like 1 million followers. So that would be kind of, I don't know logistically how that would work. But man, if they had like a play button, like a diamond play button sort of deal, oh, I would love that.
There's one specific YouTube video I wanted to ask you about. Can you guess which one it is?
Is it the 16-year-old self?
It's not. Actually, that's the other. That's a little bit further down. I was going to ask you about your music video.
Oh no! Oh yeah, let's talk about that.
What led to you wanting to do that? Because like you mentioned how like what put Sway on the map was a diss track. So when you came out and you were like, I'm dropping a song, I was like, shit, are you dropping a diss on someone? But it wasn't. It was just a song to put out a song. So I'm curious as to what led to you deciding to do that.
Oh man. Well, you know what's really funny is like the first video I ever posted on YouTube, the very first one. It was me doing a magic trick, but during the entire magic trick, I came up with this like little poem, this like little rhyme where I was doing the magic trick and it matched up perfectly. And I wrote it all myself. And you know, I ended up doing that a couple more times, like, you know, within the years where I was doing like, you know, kind of rhyming and doing magic and stuff. And then early middle school, or excuse me, early, no, yeah, late middle school, excuse me, like 8th grade. I remember posting like kind of like a diss track. I was a huge fan of Rice Gum because he was doing like the diss track wave. And I remember making a diss track, I believe on who? I'm not. I kind of forgot. I think it was a diss track on Rice Gum himself. I could be mistaken, but I remember doing a diss track, and I've always been a huge fan of like hip hop and all of that. And I have old videos. Like I did a roast yourself challenge where I completely roasted myself in a diss track for like a good 3 minutes. And I was really, really into creating, you know, music. Although I'm not like, you know, I'm not, you know, Drake or anything, but I remember we ended up sophomore year, we posted a dish, not a diss track, excuse me. We posted a music video called Gucci for Life. And we were just messing around. It was me and all my friends. It was me, Josh, Aiden, and Gavin, and we were all just rapping. And then this year, I wanted to find a creative way to promote the merch that I released. And I was like, oh man, what if I what if I made a song? I haven't made a song in years, but what if I did? And so that all came to be, and it ended up, you know, being way more of a production than we thought it would. I thought it was just going to be like, oh, let's make a song, but my friend Aiden was like, oh no, let's grab the big camera, let's get some fog machines in here, let's get a house, let's, you know, some cars into it too, and we made a whole music video for some reason. But hey, it helped the merch, so I'm glad, and a lot of people were actually surprised. I remember like a lot of the top comments were like, "Dang, like he can actually rap," which I can't, but I appreciate the comments.
I was gonna say, man, that video is dope too. Like it's like a full on music video. Like it was sick. I remember watching. I was like, this is well done. Like that was awesome.
You know, it's funny that all of that were like my friend's place. Like I have a friend, shout Kaylin. She let me use her house and her cars. I was like, I bet. Like we just had this set. I was like, okay, it worked. It worked out so perfectly, and we did that in 48 hours. All of that.
That's insane. Did you like write the song in 48 hours too?
No, not the writing song, but like filming, and then we ended up editing, and it was like all within like a couple 2 to 3 days, maybe 48 hours to 72 hours. But I remember it was late at night, and we were like, you know, editing the text and like getting all that up there, and yeah.
Damn, that's impressive though. And you mentioned too the advice for your 20-year-old self video, which you ended up reacting to recently, right? Like a little, 2 years early, you ended up reacting to it, but you'd already accomplished everything you wanted in that video. So you're gonna film another one, advice for like a 23-year-old Sean or something like that, then react to it down the road.
Yeah, we actually, tomorrow's YouTube video for the Pound, which is the creator house I'm in, is us talking to our future self. So yes, that is ironic that you said that, because I did end up talking to my future self. It's not just me; it's all of my friends too. But I I ended up filming something similar to that just yesterday. And it was that video. When it comes out, y'all will see it. But I actually ended up more talking about just general goals rather than just like numeric goals. And so yeah, I'm really excited to see, you know, react to that video in 2 to 5 years.
And so talk to me about the Pound. Can you give everyone a little bit of an explanation as to what it is?
The Pound, it is our creator house. Like I said earlier, when I went to Sway, I was like, oh dude, such a good idea, like to be in a content house. Excuse me. Everybody there is like, you know, up, and then they're ready to film, and they all just like spend time to, you know, make videos, and they're already with each other. I was like, that's so sick. The original plan for the beginning of this year is I was going to move down to you know, Los Angeles in about August. And I actually got offers from other creator houses, and you know, I was genuinely gonna, you know, sign with this one creator house. But then COVID hit, and everything had to like get pushed back, and we were pushing back, and I was still planning on moving down and, you know, just like staying quarantined in my house, and then eventually, you know, link up with that creator house. But when everything really got bad, my management, was like, "Yo, what if you and all your friends kind of start this little house?" And it's really funny because it's genuinely childhood friends. Like we've been friends for so long. It was me, Josh Kukula, so Josh Washi from Josh Kukula from Josh Washi, um, Aiden Rowley, McCall Mirabella, Nate Snook, and then my editor Gavin Mayo, who's not really an influencer, but he's in a lot of the videos. Um, we all decided, let's start a house together. We didn't think it was a possibility, but everybody's schedules started to like slow down, and like we realized that nobody's going to college right now because of COVID, and nobody can do their track. Like Aiden runs track, and he's really talented in track and cross country. He runs a 4:20 mile, which is ridiculous. Let me just say that I don't. The only thing I run to is like McDonald's. Like I cannot run to save my life. But he he had to postpone his cross country season, and then obviously the school year for my friend McCall also got postponed and all of that deal. And so it was kind of just like a moment of realization where like, oh shoot, like this could actually happen, all of this could work together. And kind of on like, I wouldn't say last minute, but because there was a lot of planning that went behind it, but like kind of on like a spontaneous deal, we decided to create this house called the Pound. And a lot of people ask us where the Pound comes from. It's because we call each other dogs. Like we always say it all the time, like "What's up, dog?" or "What?" Like it's kind of like just like a phrase we always say, like "You're my dog," And so we're like, oh, at first it was gonna be like the dog house, but then we're like, okay, what about like the Pound? Because dogs are, are at the Pound.
Yeah, no, 100%. And one thing it's been a theme that I've talked to people just throughout the journey of doing my whole podcast is surrounding yourself with good people. And you mentioned it on here, and I've heard you mention it in the other places, that you feel like a lot of people don't think like you do where you're from in Vancouver, Washington. So how important is it to be working and being around like-minded individuals in the house all the time?
Oh, it's so, so important. Even when I wasn't living with, the people that I'm living with today, it was so important for me, especially where I was living at, because everybody here's in the place that I lived at was telling me, you gotta go to college. Like, what are you doing? You're wasting your life. What are these videos gonna do for you? Like it was this ordeal where it's like, yeah, okay, you don't go to college, but good luck. Literally my my video teacher told that to my face. She literally said, "Good luck with your life," when I told her my career plans. And it was it's discouraging, but it's so important to not have that be the voice in your head 24/7. Like it's, yeah, sure, you could be in that environment, but pump some positivity. I was listening to Gary Vee every single day at one point. Just listening, getting that mindset in my head and everything. And um yeah, and so what's so great about where I'm at right now with all my friends is we all have that same mindset. It's like, yo, we can make it. We're all so ambitious. We all have, goals, and we all like know that it's possible, and know that, there are so many ways to make it in life rather than just college. And that's really helped me a lot. I mean, I'm really surrounded by people who are like-minded.
Talk to me about the description of your YouTube channel. I loved it, but I'd like you to give a little bit more on it. And that description is watch small town kids become household names. Who came up with that, and why is that your description?
That was, I believe that was McCall Mirabella. That's McCall. She's the only girl in the house. She came up with that, but that's our goal. We all are just kids, man. We are all just kids who started from nowhere. We didn't have anything. We were just creating videos for fun, and we were just these small town kids. And it's our goal that I genuinely believe that this will happen. We are gonna be, I don't want to say the next vlog squad, because we're the next Pound. I don't want to like keep us together, but like we are. I genuinely believe that we're gonna be huge one day. We're just trying to figure it out right now. We're kind of on the feeling out process. This is kind of our trial month to see what's working and what's not. And but I know we got something special going on here. We're so driven, and this, the difference between all of us compared to like, I'm not here. Okay, I'm not here to knock down on the Hype House. They're so successful. Like I absolutely adore the Hype House. I said I made videos with Lil Huddy. I love what they're doing. And same with like Sway. I love everything that all the houses are doing. But what sets us apart genuinely is the fact that we are all friends. Like, not saying that they're not friends, but we were, we grew up together. We grew up together, and we know each other, and there's like, I feel like people can feel the genuine connection in the videos, and like feel that, like we are, like close, and we have known each other for so long. And that's the difference between us compared to, like the other creator houses.
And is that where that belief come from then? Where you said you genuinely believe you'll be one of the biggest like houses out there? Is that just because of you guys being friends for so long? Like, where does that belief come from?
That comes from a lot of aspects. It's also the fact that I believe we work harder than a lot of people. It's so easy to look at a creator house, and I actually said that in today's YouTube video that's coming out today, because we have a YouTube video called "How the Pound Started," and I talk about it a little bit. But um, it's so easy to look at a TikTok creator house like the Hype House or like Sway and think it's so easy. Like, you make TikToks for a living? Like, what? Like, I could do that. But I wish you could see what we do in a day. We genuinely work so hard every second. I wish I was lying to you when I'm saying I wake up at 8 and I go to bed at 3 every single day. And that's not an exaggeration. That's genuine. I swear. I went to bed at 3 last night, and we have a morning meeting at 8 a.m. every single morning, and everybody's groggy, and everybody gets down at the morning meeting around the whiteboard, and we figure out what we're doing for the day, and we get our day started. And some days it's really hard, but that's why I believe we have something special, because I don't think that there's a lot of creator houses that work harder than.
I've heard someone specifically credit you with having an insane work ethic. So I'm curious where you think that comes from.
Oh, that definitely comes from my parents. 100%. My parents taught me so many things in my life. I didn't It's funny, it's always how it works, man. It's like you don't appreciate what they teach you until you realize it. It's like it's crazy what I end up realizing I picked up from my parents. But being honest, like both of my parents were really poor. They both lived in the Philippines, and they did not grow up rich at all. Their parents were farmers, just trying to sell food at the market. And my dad, I remember he worked so hard in school, and both of my parents, were top of their class. And my dad got an opportunity, to move to the Netherlands, where I was born, and then eventually he got an opportunity to go to the US. And that was like his dream. Like, that was his, like, he made it in life. Like, he went from, a kid in the Philippines, who was really poor, just kind of surviving off the food that they made at the farm, to, study really hard, get a good job, go to a college out of the country, and then end up moving to the US. That's like his, like, he made it, like, point. And he worked so hard to get there. And I definitely, get a lot of that from my dad. Like, I have my own dream now. Like, I want to be one of the biggest ever. And I'm in that process. And my dad kind of taught me, like, no matter what you do, I don't care what you do, just work hard and, do your absolute best at it. And if I didn't have the parents I had, definitely would not have the work ethic I have today. And I say this to my friends all the time, but I don't think it's ever been publicly said. But, like, my parents were poor, and they got themselves into the US. And I have an opportunity now to either to provide for my future generation, for my family. I mean, there's still people in my family who are living in the Philippines who aren't doing 100%, and I have this opportunity now. And so I'm gonna I'm gonna absolutely smash this opportunity. There's no way I'm gonna let go of it.
Mm-hmm. And talk to me too about just the support of your parents and how much that means to you.
Oh man, I'm gonna straight up. It was sometimes it was a fight. It was a fight because coming from an Asian American household, it's hard to convince your parents anything other than school, because the only way that my dad made it into the US was through school. So it makes sense. But it was like that. It was that constant, like, going back and forth of, like, like, okay, like, this worked for me, but is it gonna work for you? Kind of thing. And at first it was a struggle. I always told them, like, I'm not going to college. Like, I hope you realize that. I hope. And it would always lead into fights. But because, my parents want the best for me, and that's what I realize now. But of course, in the moment, I was like, why don't they want to support me? And they just wanted the best for me, and they wanted to make sure that I succeeded to as far as I could. But as soon as they realized that this is genuinely a passion for mine, and then they started to see that, oh, okay, this is a career. This is a career. They're the most supportive parents. You know, it's ridiculous. I could be, editing for like 6 hours straight. My mom would come in my room like, oh, like I made you dinner, like this and that. And like it's just like I could not be blessed with any better parents. Like once we got past the barrier of, like, oh, this is a viable career option, they're 150% into it, and they help me. They still help me till this day. Like they will come through to the house while we're all working really busy and drop off food, and it's just like such a blessing, such a blessing. And I'm so grateful for my parents and everything they do for me.
That's amazing, man. That's awesome. And you mentioned earlier about how with the pound, everyone gets up at 8 a.m. You have these whiteboard sessions. Is that like sessions to plan out content, or like what do you guys talk about at that 8 a.m. meeting?
We talk about a couple things. We have a quote of the day, which is McCall's idea, of course. He's very, very into the quotes. But no, we talk about what our plan is for the day. We kind of align our schedule. We have like different sections, one for specifically the pound and all the socials, and then one for each of us, one for Josh, one for Aiden. And every single day we write down a list of things we have to do, and throughout the day we just start crossing them off. And man, I cannot tell you the feeling you get when you cross something off that list. Oh, that is a phenomenal feeling. I love that. But yeah, that's what we do. We kind of come up with our game plan for the day. We generally have like a very similar game plan every single day, but then we also come up with creative concepts throughout the day as well. Or excuse me, not throughout the day. We also come up with creative concepts during that meeting of what we are doing. So today we got a very interesting creative concept. Our concept was what was it? We had to come up with something dumb to do for a video. We each are going to do one really dumb, stupid thing for a pound video. So I'm very excited to see where it goes. Like I think my dumb thing is I'm gonna embarrass myself in public. I think I'm gonna literally walk into the mall and just start tripping in front of everybody. Which is gonna look really stupid, and I absolutely hate it. But you know what? I'm excited.
And then, so what does the rest of the day look like after that meeting? Like you said, most of the days kind of follow a similar template. Like, so what does an average day kind of look like?
So after our meeting, we start kind of getting ready for the day. I've been working out every single day, which has become a part of my daily routine. So right after the meeting, working out, me and McCall work out, and then kind of everybody else kind of just starts figuring out their own things. Everybody gets ready, and then by around 2, 3, 4 is usually the time where it's group filming, where we kind of all get together and get our group filming together. But the rest of the day, it's we all have like our own assigned like things to do, and we're kind of doing our own thing. And then at night we all kind of just hang out once everything is crossed off. And sometimes that's like that doesn't happen because we're working until like again 2 to 3. But sometimes we might have some time at like 1 a.m. in the morning where we're just kind of hanging out. But it is constant work. Like behind this podcast setup, like in the other room, like I can hear them filming TikToks right now. Like I can genuinely hear them like doing stuff, moving lights around and stuff. And so it's crazy. Like it's so insane. I was thinking about this other night. It's like we do a lot of work in this house, and I'm surprised like how we're able to do it and still do it every single day. Because I don't know. I feel like if I was to look back at that like maybe a year ago and see like that, I would be like, oh, man, I could never do that much work. But we're here surviving somehow.
So with that, kind of just hear that you're surviving somehow. Is creator burnout something you guys are worried about, or something you're kind of taking into consideration with what you're doing? Because right now it sounds like you guys are just go, 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 which I mean, you're young and you can do that, but we've seen it kind of time and again where these creators get so into creating content on such a consistent basis that eventually they burn out. Is that something you guys are worried about at all?
I've never ever really felt truly like maybe there was times where I was creatively depleted, but there's never really been a time where I was truly burnt out. And so this is definitely going to test it. I'm really curious. I don't know where my limit is. I've always been like a hard worker. I've always been someone who will be willing to pull an all-nighter to post a video. I'm that I've always been willing to do stuff like that, but I've never been tested in this kind of way, where it's consistent every single day, where I like getting basically no sleep and I'm filming 24/7 and I'm in front of a camera. So I don't know. I don't know where this goes. But right now, we're just kind of going with it. And if if anything happens, we will have to step back and look at the drawing board and see where we need to fix, and maybe we need more time for this, or maybe we need to do less in a day, which is also a possibility. But right now, we are still just steadily moving. So until something really big comes out where we genuinely just feel burnt out, I'm gonna keep moving, see where my boundaries are, because I genuinely have never felt burnt out.
Mhm. And how do you handle it? Maybe there haven't been, but how do you handle creative differences in the house? Because obviously, with 6, 7 people, there's going to be differing opinions. Like, how do you guys overcome that?
There's been a lot of petty arguments in the house, but I mean that comes with us being friends, right? So like, again, like usually most houses they're just like, okay, go with the flow, whatever. But we all are friends and we all know each other, so it like really well. So like, we get into some arguments here and there, but with creative differences, it's all, I mean, all of it is out of the wanting the best for our videos. So we sit down, we talk about a lot of things, but obviously we're all teenagers and we're all young and we're all friends. So there are going to be times where we have arguments and stuff, but it's been pretty good actually. We've been able to come up with really good ideas, and putting all of our heads together and talking about videos like has really upped our content. I don't think I've ever been more proud producing content in my life. Like the videos we've been doing is like more high production, more thought out, genuinely things that I would watch, and it's something that I'm really proud about.
And how do you find like a niche for the pound? Because like with you, obviously you started with magic and now you said you were diversifying your content type. But like, how do you figure what type of content the pound should be creating when you have different people with different niches all coming together to create one type of content?
Yeah, that was a tough question, and we're still kind of trying to figure out right now. But we're selling ourselves. The niche. It's similar to like I think Emma Chamberlain, because like if I asked you what's Emma Chamberlain's niche, like there's not much that comes to mind, to be honest. Like she's kind of just like a lifestyle vlogger, I guess. But what really sells Emma is like her personality. So that's kind of what we've been mainly selling, is like kind of like, not I mean, I wouldn't say wholesome, but like like positive, and like our personality and our friendship is kind of what we've been selling. So like there's not a specific niche, but it's just like more of just like just us.
Mhm. And I mean, it's working. I mean, I think you're over 5,000 followers, subscribers on YouTube within a couple of weeks. You're over 600,000 followers on TikTok within 2 weeks. So things are clearly working. And I'm curious as to how many followers of that 600,000 do you think came from the WAP video?
A good amount. That probably brought in about maybe 250,000 to 300,000 of our followers. I remember posting that video. I don't think I've been like, it's been a while since I've been like that genuinely happy, because when you first start off social media, you're still trying to climb your way up on the ropes, and when you get that viral video, you're just like, yes, go. And that's like such a great feeling. And I haven't felt that in a while, because I already have a following on TikTok. So like I remember posting that video and it was like picking up so fast. I was like, oh my God, it was like such a rush. I was like, yes, like kind of validated the fact that, oh, I do know how to grow on TikTok. Like, let's go. Like I could start from the bottom and still work my way up if I wanted to. Um, but yeah, posting that video, it converted really, really well, and people were really, really excited, and it really showed kind of like our personality and ability to like, we can send it, we can, if we need to, like we can do like funny videos, and and it yeah, that video did like really contributed to a lot of our current success within the first 2 weeks.
Mhm. And you said how like the pound, you guys wanted to be one of, if not the biggest creator house on the planet. But like, what does that look like? Like long-term vision, what does it look like? Like if you were to describe what being one of the biggest houses on the earth looks like, what does that look like for you guys?
That's a tough question, to be honest, because like you can only reflect that onto what you see today. There's, I mean, obviously I could have a creative imagination and see that, but I see it similar to like, the Vlog Squad where like, I guess they don't all live together, but we have a house down, in LA, and like everybody kind of attributes us with each other. Like we're kind of like a group together, and just like being able to do things that we've never been able to do, whether that's, be on talk shows, and, being able, like when was like you don't see like necessarily a lot of Creator House. I guess there was one time where the Hype House were interviewed by, I believe it was Good Morning America. I could be wrong, but I mean, like, there's not a lot of Creator Houses that are being like on talk shows and stuff. So like that would be like a really cool milestone, and just being able to like, you know, I had this vision, like it was like weird, but like the idea of like us walking into a restaurant and like, people like, oh, that's the pound, like that's just such a cool idea to me in itself, because I've gotten recognized, a decent amount, but like just like being able to walk in as a group and be known within each other as a group, that's something I look really forward for.
Mhm. Last time when you're on this podcast, we were talking about you passing 1 million and how cool a feeling that was. And now you're 15 million today. How often do you take time to reflect on that number?
Not enough. Not enough. Gary Vee says, stop and, we got to work to stop and smell the roses, which is true. It's something that Gary Vee struggles with, something I struggle with. It's really easy to look at a number on my screen and be like, okay, that's cool. All right, next, like, but I don't take enough time to just genuinely realize how much people that is. Like that like, just think, I'm literally just sitting here thinking about it right now. It's like, wow, that's a lot. Like if I saw that on like Instagram or something, like that's a lot of people. That's genuinely like so many people who have seen my face. But I had that crazy feeling when I hit a million. I was like, damn, like I really got a million followers. I remember when I believe it was 10 million. I hit 10 million, and that was, I'm pretty sure you saw my tweet. I had a tweet at the beginning of the year saying that I was going to hit 10 million by the end of 2020. And that was, if not more surreal than the 1 million one. It was just such, and it was really funny. I was on FaceTime with all of my friends at the moment it happened, and it was like, Macaulay, like she started crying. Like it was so crazy. Like it was like, this is everything I worked for. This is everything that, and so that was kind of like my main moment of like stopping and smelling the roses. Like, wow, that number reflects so much more than, just a number. It reflects hard work. It reflects the long nights. It reflects all the planning I've done. It reflects all the money I've invested. It reflects, you know, everything that I could have like built up for. Like that was such a surreal moment for me, the 10 mil.
And outside of numbers, have you just thought about kind of the impact you're having with the up and coming generation? Like when I was researching for this, I don't know how I found it, but I stumbled onto a video of like a 6, 7 year old kid doing videos on YouTube, doing magic tricks on YouTube. And in the title of the video is like Magic Tricks Like Sean Does Magic. It's like a 7 year old kid doing magic on his YouTube channel. Like, have you ever thought about how you're going to be impacting like the future generation of magicians?
Oh, I don't think about that enough. It's surreal. I know that there's some kids watching my videos that are trying to do magic tricks, and years from, just like what I did. I mean, there was people that I genuinely watched growing up. Like Rick Lax is an example. He does Facebook magic, but he also creates magic tricks. And I would watch him. I remember being in middle school, 7th grade, watching his videos. And then, just, I believe last October, I met him, and I actually got him set up on TikTok, and now he's like 2 million. Like I taught him how to use TikTok, um, and so like it's things like that where it's like, that just like kind of put it all full circle for me, where it's like, dang, like for me, I'm doing this for someone else. Like someone else is gonna become maybe a content creator or a magician, and will come up to me years later and be like, "Yo, you really inspired me," and I'm looking forward for the day, man. It's crazy to think about that some kid is gonna like, well, I might be able to like, do something huge with their life with what the content I'm producing. Also, oh wait, on top of that, also like a lot of Asian Americans too. Like, there's not a lot of Asian American creators on the platform or represented in general. And so I've also gotten a lot of emails, not emails, excuse me, DMs from kids saying like, yo, like you're my favorite Asian creator. Like this is so sick. Like, and I just know that the representation of Asian creators is gonna, start to expand more and more because of, being able to grow my following to where I'm at today.
And that the kid in that video that I was referencing was an Asian American kid. So just to your point there, like you're influencing the next generation.
Oh, that's crazy. That's insane.
But I will say that you deserve to be where you are. Like we've talked about this podcast, the previous one. Like you've always been making videos. You've loved it from the beginning. I remember a quote I wrote down from the last podcast. You say you before fame, like you haven't left the house without a deck of cards in like 6 years. You used to pay people on Twitter to promote your videos. You used to run IG ads. Like you've put the work in to get to this point. But there was a point before TikTok happened where you almost quit social media. How happy are you that you didn't at that point?
Oh man, that was a tough time because it was like a month of basically right before I joined TikTok. There was like a month where I didn't post anything, and that's that. Listening to that, I mean, just hearing that is just like it blows my mind because I can't go probably like a day without posting on social media, whether that's on the pound. Sometimes I skip a day on my personal account, but like I can't go a day without posting or working in general. So I went a whole month without doing that. And I was so creatively depleted. I didn't know where I wanted to go with my page. I wasn't really happy with the content I was making. I had a following, but my following was decreasing. And on top of that, I actually got sick twice that month. I had the flu at one point, and then I had a really bad cold, and it was just really tough for me. I was like, what do I like? Is this a sign for me to stop? I was asking myself, I was like I can't. I everything I was trying before that month of not posting like wasn't working. I was losing followers. It was like just a whole mess, an ordeal, and that's when I found TikTok and I started to enjoy making content again. I was like, oh wow, this is so much fun. TikTok is so much fun. Like I didn't feel the pressure anymore of like having to post certain videos. I kind of wanted to just do funny videos, and that's kind of where I got revived into social media.
Mhm. And one thing I wanted to ask you about is manifestation. You like publicly tweet your goals and say that this is going to happen. Like, is manifestation something you actively practice?
110%. It's such a big part of my life. If I truly believe if I want something, I'm gonna put it out into the world. And on top of that, of course, you got to work hard for it. But just manifest your ideas. It blows my mind how much this works for not just me but my friends. I have so many stories from my friends talking about things that they never thought would happen, but they would try to manifest it, and it happens. I mean, just like my goals from last year alone, I had here. Let me pull it up real quick. Um, I had two goal sheets. I had one that I posted publicly, and one that I kept in my Gary V shoebox that I kept privately. But the goals were, and I posted this December 21st, 2019. Get a 100K plaque on YouTube. At that point, I had 8,000, I believe. Reach 7.5 million on TikTok. Meet David Dobrik. And be the healthiest I've ever been working out and eating right. So all of those four goals, and then I had personal goals that I kept in my Gary my little shoebox. That was also like reaching 300K on Instagram. I believe I said working with Gary V. And so like I had all of these things and I wrote them down, and that's kind of my own way of kind of manifesting. I also do my own personal like manifestation, like meditation. I try to do one like at least once a week just so I can get my head right for the week. But yeah, and I just look back on those goals and it's like it works, man. Everything got crossed off. 100K plaque, 7.5 on TikTok. David Dobrik. I'm working out every single day now, and I recently lost 20 pounds. So it's like that in itself is just, and on top of that, I was on one of Gary V's live streams. I was able to work with him, and I'm continuing to work with him and his team. And so it's people when they think a lot of people when they think of manifestation, they kind of think of it as like BS, but it's not. It's not. It's weird how it works. And if you're listening to this and you try it out, just try it out for like 1 month, 2 months, and just start manifesting like certain things in your life. You will find it. You will find it. And trust me.
I think one of the most important parts of that whole thing with you specifically is it's not like you tweet like, 100K on YouTube by the end of the year, and then you just shut off social media, you wake up like 2 months later with 100K. Like, your manifestation works because you work as well. And like, you put it in the work more so than, to your point, than a majority of people. And that's why it's working for you as
Appreciate
well.
it.
Cause you're putting in the work to get to that point. And which actually is one of the things that you said on the last podcast as well, was that every day could change my life. And that's what motivates you to get up and out of bed, is every single day. And that's what you're working towards every single day. And another quote I have written down here right before we get into the wrap up questions is, you said happiness is everything, was one of the quotes you said on the last podcast. So my question for you is, are you happy?
Right now, right this very second, I don't think I've ever been happier in my life. This is everything. Even on the hard days, it's like it reminds me, and this is one of McCall's like all time favorite quotes. I think it is her favorite quote, and it's from Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. He said that, this is the dream. The work, waking up at 8 a.m. in the morning, the going to bed at 3, the working 24/7, like this is the dream. And whenever I have like those low moments where it's like, oh man, I wish I could, like I wish that I wasn't so tired or whatever, or like, oh, I have to do this. Like, no, this is everything I work for. This is it. This is it. And it's gonna pay off 15 times fold, like in the future. And so genuinely I am very happy with where I am today. And I'm so blessed. Like, I mean, if we compare it to the interview from, a year ago or just about 8 months ago, my life has completely changed. Like I can support myself now. I moved out of my parents' house. I'm doing my own thing. I'm doing the dream job that I ever wanted. And there's nothing to complain about. And that's not saying that, there aren't times where, I have low moments where I'm like, that's not saying that at all. Because the reality of it is, no matter where you are in life, like life is, you're gonna have low moments. But I genuinely am happy right now.
That's awesome. I'm happy to hear that, man. And I'm happy for you and the success you've had. And before the wrap up questions, there's actually one thing I wanted to make sure I spotlighted. I know we're a little over time. Do we have time for like one other thing before the rapid
Yeah, that's
fire?
fine. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Amazing. So what I wanted to spotlight here was the work you did with Feed the Philippines. And that's when you teamed up with your dad to feed people in the Philippines during kind of COVID, like at the height of it. So I'm curious as to like when and how like you got involved in this initiative.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up, because that's like something really true to my heart is this initiative to help my home country. Like, I've been there. I was there last year, I believe June, July. And it's heartbreaking what you see there. There are people starving. There's so many people, like, it's being in a third world country in itself, and let alone it's like where, my heritage, that's my home. That's everything that, like, that all my family's down there. And so, I've always wanted to do something for the Philippines. I wanted to do something for my home country. And, you know, one of the big things that happened this year was COVID and Corona and all of that. And the truth of the matter is, it's so nice to be in a first world country. Not saying that there aren't people who are struggling, but it's so nice to be in a first world country because, the government can support at least a little bit, whether it's unemployment or, like, helping with, rent or whatever it might be. But when it comes to the Philippines, when everything shut down and people couldn't work, the government didn't have money to support, the people who aren't working. They kind of just left them out. Like, there were some, relief efforts. There were, efforts, but there's only so many people that you can help. Especially if you are, like, a third world country, there's only so many so many resources to go around, to help people who aren't working. And especially with COVID, there are people living day by day, every single day in the Philippines in poverty already. And then on top of COVID, they can't work. So if they can't work, they can't make money. They can't make money. They can't feed their family. And it just goes into a full circle like that. And when I heard about that, my dad actually was the one who brought it up to me. It breaks my heart because it genuinely, I could have easily been one of those, kids in the Philippines. I really could. If I didn't have the parents I had who worked so hard to get to the US, I easily could have been a kid in the Philippines living in poverty. It could have been just a flip of a coin. I literally could have been a kid in the Philippines, struggling. And so, like, I'm in this position right now where I can go out and I make, a good amount of money now that I can support not just myself, but now I can support other people, and I have this platform to promote issues like this that's going on, and so I just felt so inclined to make a, a GoFundMe, excuse me, to help support that, and help the people in need. And we were able to feed. I wish I had the exact numbers for you, but we fed a lot of families with simply just like the money that we raised. And I'm very very happy. And my dad is still working. We aren't currently using that GoFundMe anymore. Specifically, we are using. I believe my dad is working with someone with a Facebook Foundation, but they're still actively trying to raise money for that. Um, you know, people who are still impacted by that, by COVID and everything, can still get food and resources.
That's amazing. And do you know the link or anything that people can go to visit to donate? And if not, like you can send me a link after and I can put it in the show notes as well if you don't know it offhand.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, I can send you
Perfect.
100%.
And before we wrap up, I want to ask you the same standard set of questions that I ask everyone at the end of every interview. Most of them are going to be the same ones from last time. So I'm curious to see how these answers differ from the last time we did this.
Oh, I'm interested too.
So, first question, you're going to dinner. You can take anybody dead or alive and you can take 3 people. Who do you bring to dinner?
Oh, okay. Oh, wow, that's tough. Did I have an immediate answer last time? I feel like I had more of an immediate answer. Wait, so I can pick one person dead or alive?
3 people dead or alive.
3 people dead or alive, and then is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. I will take Gary V 100% because I would just love to talk to him and basically thank him for everything. I would take Kobe Bryant because I love his mentality behind things. And then last one. Wow, there's so many people to pick from. Genuinely, there's so many people to pick from. Um, I would probably man, that's such a tough question. Jacob, my guy. I have 7 million names going through my head, but I think I'm gonna go with Will Smith.
Okay.
So Will Smith, Gary V, and Kobe Bryant.
If I remember correct, I know Gary Vee was there last time, and I'm pretty sure last time you got the first 2 pretty quickly, and it was the third one that you were struggling with last time as well.
Oh man, I probably said David Dobrik last time or something.
Yep, I think you're right.
Oh wow, yeah, that's cool. I this time I would love to more like pick apart people's brains. I would love to see what people are thinking about.
Mhm. What is some of the best advice you've ever been given?
Oh, best advice I've ever been given. There's so many pieces of advice that goes through my head. Um, I actually have a new favorite quote. So that this is probably the best advice that I've ever been given. But the quote goes, "No risk means no reward, and sometimes the best reward is knowing that you had the guts to take the risk in the first place." So that's probably one of my favorite pieces of advice that I've ever been given.
I love it. When your alarm goes off in the morning, what motivates you to get up and out of bed?
Same answer as before, but I'll add more to it. Number one thing that gets me out of bed is knowing that this day can change my life. I could get an email today. I could post a video today that gets seen by the right person that, can bring me an opportunity that absolutely changes my life for the better. And, waking up every morning and when that alarm goes off, you don't want to get out of bed, but just remembering that, you could literally get the chance of a lifetime today. Definitely motivates me to get out of bed. Second thing on top of that, is gratitude. Number one thing that goes through my head probably all day is like, I'm just so grateful. It blows my mind. I'm in a house right now. Like what? That I'm in a pretty decent house right now, and it's paid for because of social media and everything. And that gets me out of bed and motivates me every single day. The fact that I post a video and there's fans waiting for that video to be posted, and it's just like it's the gratitude that also gets me up and gets me going.
So I'm curious. So you've done the video where you filmed or questions or advice from your 18-year-old self, or a letter to your future self. But I'm curious, what do you think that future Sean would say if like Sean from 15 years in the future came back to this moment? What would he tell you right now?
Oh, that's so interesting. So my future self comes back here right now.
Correct. Yeah, I like to flip it a little bit because usually it's you going back, but I'm curious if it was you from the future coming to see you now.
Oh man. I think honestly, I think my future self is just gonna tell me not to stress so much about things because everything will work out in the end, no matter what. I think that's what my future self will come back here and say, Sean, I know you're stressed about blank, blank, and blank, but don't worry because everything will work out. You know, you'll make it.
What's one thing about you people wouldn't expect?
How short I am.
I think that was your answer last time too.
Easily how short I am. That's the number one thing I always get. People come up to me, "Oh my God, you're so much shorter than you are." Oh, I got the Asian genes. I'm, 5'5". So I'm like really short. People are shocked by how short I am. But I mean, like an actual personality trait, man, how much I love to talk. I talk a lot.
Fair enough. What's one thing that's so important everybody needs to know?
So important.
Mhm.
Man, why do I feel like last time I did this interview, I was just busting out like answers? Now I'm really thinking about this. One thing so important that everybody has to know. Could it just be a quote?
For sure.
All right, just as simple as this, you got one life. And despite what you believe in, whatever it might be you believe in, um for me, like, I'm Catholic, so like, I believe in a God, but like despite what you believe in, nobody has the 100% answer of what happens after we die. And if this is our last shot at life, if this is it, what are you going to do with it? And that's what I got to tell everybody.
For the final question, I like to flip the script a little bit. So instead of me asking the question, it's you asking the question, but it's not to me. So pretend you have this crystal ball. You can ask this crystal ball any question and you'll get the 100% honest answer. What is one question you want to know the answer to?
Oh, Jacob, you and your questions are really good today. Wow. I mean, they were phenomenal last time, but like I'm just struggling. If I could ask a crystal ball an answer to anything, I would oh man. I would probably ask if I would die with any regret. That would probably be it. That would probably be my wonder. Like, am I gonna with my current life, would I die with any regrets? And then I would see if I can fix that.
I love that answer. No one's ever asked that question in that way, and I really like that answer.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
My pleasure, man. I want to thank you for taking the time to be on this podcast. I want to give you the floor. Where can the people find you? Plug anything and everything you got right now.
All righty. Well, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all of the socials on Seandoesmagic. But if you really want to support, it would mean the world if y'all go check out our creator house, The Pound LA. We are currently not located in LA, so don't get it twisted, but we are moving there soon. So just search up The Pound and then LA right after that on all socials. It would mean the world. And yeah, thank you so much for having me, Jacob.
My pleasure, dude. I want to thank you once again for taking time to be on this podcast. I want to thank everybody for listening, whether you've listened the entire way through or you only listen to bits and pieces. I really appreciate you taking time to check this out. Everyone do me a big favor. Go and follow Sean. Go and follow The Pound. I'll make sure everything is linked in the show notes down below. If you'd like to follow me, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram and at the Jacob Kelly. Feel free to come and say hello. My DMs are always open. If you'd like to follow the podcast, you can find us on Instagram and at My Social Life Podcast or YouTube by searching on My Social Life. As always, today's podcast is powered by Trufan. Thank you once again for listening, everybody. We'll talk soon.